Hello, live. How we doing? Thank you for joining us.
Good. We are now live.
Hey, this is Thursdaynight
Devotion.
How you doing?
Hello. Good evening on Periscope and Facebook Live. We're actually in our car on Thursdays. Those of you who were with us last week know on Thursdays we make sure we spend our time wisely, and while we wait for our daughter to take gymnastics class, we started doing our devotion in the car. So instead of wasting time, many people are very, very busy when they get married, and so we do our devotion in the car to make sure that we're using our time wisely. So
yes.
Good evening. All right.
Hey.
Hello. Let's see.
All right.
Who's coming on? We appreciate you.
Hearts.
Thank you
Love
for the hearts.
Love the hearts.
Good evening. Good evening, Jennifer. JJ, Cam, join. Good evening. But we'll keep moving. There we go. Sorry, Facebook.
Miami.
We're hoping that it works pretty well. Last week we struggled with being in the car, but I think we have it this week. So you two be blessed. Thank you. So thank you for joining us. We have some. Make sure you. Oh, hello, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Hey,
hello, the Johnsons. That's our family.
All right.
Hello, family. Hello, how are we doing? Make sure you like and share this post and broadcast. We would appreciate it. Thank you all for sending in those questions. We've had some really great questions.
Really great questions.
And next week we have a surprise. Next week we're going to be talking about how I set some things and standardized and worked on decreeing and declaring over my husband for many, many years. So we're going to be walking that through and showing you what that looks like, declaring over your spouse, over your children, to make sure we are, as the word says, we have to call those things that be not as though they were.
That's right.
As though they were. So like and share. And we are doing our devotion tonight. So what devotion page do we have? And remember, let's show it to them. We do our Thursday devotion from Seasons of Love. You might not be able to read it backwards, but this is from Tony Evans. We do it from Derek Prince has some devotions. Annie, we recommend that you pick a devotion from bookstores, from Christian bookstores, and work on them together. It's been good. It's been great.
It's been good.
It gives you something to talk about, because we've all talked about it. When you get to a point where you're sitting at a restaurant and you don't have communication or conversation, or you're sitting at home with your spouse and you can't even get, your communication going, a lot of times something like this helps.
It did. It helped us a lot, because I wasn't a communicator, and our sitting down talking wasn't really talking. And so we started doing the devotion.
Yes.
The devotional, and it gave us something that we can add to our conversation. And it started as a surface, and then we start getting deeper into how we feel about the devotional that we just read, and it helped us, it guided us through, sticky points in our marriage. And I really now enjoy Thursday night devotional. Yes. And now we get to share Thursday night devotional with you guys, and I pray that you be blessed as we are blessed by doing it.
We'd love to hear the feedback. If you start doing devotion with your spouse, we'd love to hear feedback. Offered this to my husband today.
There you go.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Amen.
So let's see, where are we today?
Today, the importance of your attitude.
Ooh.
We kind of hit on that last night.
Yes. About
our attitudes, and today happened to be one on our attitude.
All right.
And
And the other thing that helps with the devotion before you get started is sometimes you want to bring up difficult things, and your spouse may have trouble with hearing that from you, but the devotion will help the communication kind of go forward without it being something that you're hindering or you're picking on someone. Because if it's in the book, and we suggest one that is scripturally based, but if it's in the book, it really helps the communication and not to look like, we're picking on one another.
Right.
Want to get started?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
We're going to be reading out of Ephesians 4:11. It says Philippians, I'm sorry. Philippians 4:11. I'm sorry. I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I'm in.
Woo.
Want to read that one again?
Yes.
Philippians 4:11. I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am in.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. It says many of the struggles that we have as husbands and wives are tied directly to our attitudes, and sometimes we don't even realize this source of a problem. Because of our attitude, we react to things in a particular way that may not necessarily be Christian or godly. That's difficult. That is difficult. So I'm going to read that again. Because of our attitudes, we react to things in a particular way that may not necessarily be Christian or godly. So right here, before we even get any further, we have to start looking at, yesterday we started talking about if we see our spouse is saying things that we don't like, behaving in a way that we don't like. The Bible yesterday shared with us, and it said we need to love our spouse and treat them like a blessing, even if they're not acting like a blessing.
Right.
So here it says, because of our attitude and the way we react to things in a particular way, we may not even be acting godly or in a Christian way.
Wow.
And sometimes, especially Christian marriages, we should see behavior that's Christian-like and godly, not based on our emotion and not based on our feelings, and certainly not based on how the other person is acting or behaving. So here it is right here back in our faces. So those of you who have been following us all week, we've been talking about crucifying our flesh and treating our spouses like God expects us to treat them, even if they're not behaving like it. So let's keep reading, because I'm already hurting. You probably have heard people say, that's just the way I am. Perhaps you have said to yourself, we get set in our ways and things have to be a certain way, or we develop an attitude. It says here, over the years, we were told countless numbers of illustrations about individuals. This one's about Lois Evans. That's part of being a pastor's wife. So that's part of being a Christian, is that sometimes our business, our information, the things we're going through, people are watching.
All the time.
You're putting bumper stickers on your car and you're inviting people to church and you're wearing crosses on your neck. People are watching what you're doing. And so you can't get upset. And when your spouse is behaving inappropriately and you're saying things like, I'm going to do this or that to them, people are listening, people are watching, and we have to be much more careful that our attitude is Christian and godly.
I remember just the other day I was in the grocery store, and this lady, she ran this cart right over my foot.
Ooh.
And she didn't even say anything. She just looked at me like, get your foot out of the way. And so I was like, ma'am, you have a blessed day. And then she, not knowing that I parked right beside her.
Oh, wow.
And so my daughter was in the car, so I was going to the car and I saw the lady and I looked at her. She told me something. Sir, I am so sorry. And I am so sorry that I ran over your foot, and I want you to have a blessed day also. I was like, look at you, God. Because I really wanted to say, did you not see my foot, woman? But I didn't say anything. I just, I tried to do the right thing. But sometimes, you don't, you know, and you have to make sure that you catch yourself, because somebody's watching, and you never know when you're going to bump into those people again, and you never know, you might change their life just by your actions, because they're always looking at your action. And some people will try to do things to see where you are. If you say that you're a Christian, then they're gonna want to find out how much of a Christian you really are. Do you curse? Will you curse? Will you do something out of the norm? So you have to be careful of what you're doing, and you have to be careful of your attitude.
No doubt. It says here, because we may be born in a certain environment and we're raised to do things in a certain way that we thought was gospel truth, as Christians, we have to work to adjust to whatever circumstances we find ourselves in. So that goes right back to when we talked about the circumstance you may find yourself in. Is you might be the spouse that has to hold on. You might be the spouse that has to pray your marriage through. You might be the spouse that has to speak things into existence before you even see it. Or you may find yourself being the person that needs the prayer. Whatever the case may be, we have to make some adjustments. We have to, and God calls for, how do you do that without being phony? Woo! Lord, that's a great question. It really isn't phony. Really, I think the world calls it phony, but sometimes, or actually most of the time, if you think about it, when we're being godly, it's not phony. It's doing what God asked us to do, even though we don't feel like it.
You don't do it enough. That's why in the world just says phony, because they're so used to people just cursing you out or just going off. So
it's not phony. What it is it's going against our flesh. So it feels unnatural. So you're right. It feels unnatural. Sorry about that. Uh-oh. We good? It feels unnatural, but there's a lot of things that happen in our Christian walk that cause us to feel like this isn't what I'm used to. And just like she just said, it's not necessarily what you've grown up knowing. It's not necessarily what you've ever seen, but it's a way that you begin to make it more natural. So the more you start treating people the way God asked you to, and the more you start loving on your spouse, you can fall in love again. And that's a book right there. It's possible to fall in love all over again. So it's not really, that happened to us. That did. It really did. That happened
Sorry,
to
guys.
us. That happened to us. So we wouldn't call it phony. Yes, because love is definitely an action word, and you have to be bigger. And that's what you're praying for. That's what we're praying for. So we're saying here that whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, look at it, shift it, and change it to make sure it's godly. It says each partner brings a set of expectations and needs into the marriage. We naturally want to get our desired goals accomplished, get our needs met, and receive the attention we need. But like it's been said on Periscope and on Facebook, love is an action word.
Yes, it is.
And love is not a word that's selfish. So in order for us to really have successful marriages, we have to sometimes come out of what we need and give the spouse what they need. And of all the things that we need to do what the word tells us to do.
That's right.
And right here it tells us we have learned to be content in whatever circumstances we are in. What is the circumstance you are in now with your marriage, with your relationships? You have to be content, because guess what? Many of the problems we have are because we have decided, I want more. I want this. I want him or her to act this way. And that causes more division. So Satan loves it when we get to that point. Because maybe, one thing we started doing is, Gerald said to me years ago, well, do I do anything right? I mean, well, really, do I do anything right? Because we had gotten to a point where, well, you need to do this and you got to stop doing that. And I wish you would. How many of us, okay, I want to see some hearts. How many of us have said that to our spouses? Would you do this? I need you to do that. You just go in this long laundry list of things to do.
A laundry list.
Okay, someone's saying, yes, I've done that. I know, we've all done it.
More than once. Come on, I know you got more hearts than that.
But
come on now.
What happens is it causes the other person to feel like they don't do anything right. Yes, I know.
There we go.
All the hearts, because if I was at home, I'd have to be pushing like this. But we have to make sure, yes,
right.
We have to share what our needs are, but we have to meet the needs of the other person, and we have to be very careful,
right?
Not to get to a point where we're complaining so much.
That's right.
That we're not treating them like they need to be treated. And
right.
So
treat them like you want to be treated.
had to learn to spend time. One time my husband washed the car. He washed the car on the outside but didn't do the inside. He didn't have time. He didn't have a chance to do it. So instead of me being appreciative that he washed the outside,
it made me hot.
I brought up the fact that, the inside of the car was not vacuumed.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I said. It wasn't thank you for cleaning the outside of the car. It was the inside of the car was not vacuumed. And so it's those kinds of things. It's perspective. It's the way we look at things. Mm-hmm. And with this, we have to be sometimes content with where we are.
Right.
Get to a point where you gain your friendship back.
Right.
And then move forward.
True.
But if you're always complaining about where you are, then you will never enjoy what is good.
True. That's true.
I'll give myself an amen on that.
I'll give you a high five, baby.
That's a good one. I love that.
That's a real good one.
So this says, but God wants us to react supernaturally, not natural. So that goes back to the question. It's really acting supernaturally.
Supernatural.
And not natural. So it's not phony. It's supernatural.
There you go.
Woo, I love that.
It's supernatural.
It says he wants us to develop biblical attitudes. And with his help, we can do it.
Yes. Now, once again, it's
with his help.
You cannot do this on your own.
Nope.
Because you will be operating in the natural.
That's right.
See, if you ever want the supernatural, you need to call upon him.
Yes.
Call upon Jesus. Call upon the Holy Spirit to help you, to guide you, to strengthen you, because you do not want to go off. You do not want to take your spouse to another level of anger or whatever it may be that they're in at that time. So you have to be able to realize that you're doing a majority of the stuff in your natural. When you're getting angry, close your eyes. Just close your eyes and ask God for an opportunity to give you some wisdom for what you need to say or how you need to say it. Because the times when you're in your flesh and in your emotions, those words aren't going to come out right. They're going to come out wrong. Yes. And the person that you're saying them to is going to hurt them, and they're going to respond back maybe the same way you responded. So if you want something different, you respond differently.
Wow.
So respond in the supernatural and not in your natural. And that's I keep saying close your eyes, because when you have your eyes open, only thing you see is what's aggravating you, what's coming against your emotions, and coming against your flesh, coming against your natural body. But when you close your eyes and you just think upon what God would say and what God would want you to do, or even just ask God, what do you want me to say? Because I do not want to say something out of my mouth that will cause this marriage, that will cause this relationship to go down the wrong road. I don't want this conversation to go down the wrong road. So I need your help right now. Right now. And if you're sincere, you will get that help.
You will get the help.
You really would.
No doubt about that.
It was instantly you'll get a word or just be quiet.
Or peace.
Peace.
Or peace.
Peace.
Or the right thing to say in the right way.
Yes.
Have the right thing to say in the right way. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And so the bottom of our devotion always gives us something to pray about. Battery. always gives us something to pray about. It says, pray about it. Ask God to do an attitude adjustment in your heart today. Remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. So when we're asking for that attitude adjustment, I know yesterday several people commented that it's too hard. They're concerned about the way they feel. They're concerned about the way their spouse has been behaving or acting. And the reality is, we have to know that we can ask God to give us the strength, and we can do all things. And all things are all things.
All things.
All things are just what it says. Hold on just a minute.
Trying to get our plug in too.
Got to plug in and make sure we're good. We can do all things through Christ, which strengthens us. And when we ask God to strengthen us, He will do just that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we ask God to give us an attitude adjustment,
He will do it.
We'll get an attitude adjustment.
He will.
So we'll get that attitude adjustment and start treating people the way they need to be treated. And that is not just spouse. We just had someone say, what about the unmarried? Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't treat someone that way before you're married,
come on,
it's going to be really hard to treat them that way after you're married. So
right.
Yes, it's for the unmarried. It's for every relationship, because we promise that in marriage, you're going to see some things, hear some things,
come on,
experience some things that don't feel good. That don't look good, don't feel good, and you don't like it.
No.
And how many times have I said, I don't want this or I don't want that, in all relationships? Yes, I agree. So this is asking God specifically for an attitude adjustment.
Come on.
Because if we know that Jesus Christ is our Savior and He is the creator of all things.
Yes.
If He created us, then He can help us adjust our attitude.
That He can.
He can help us adjust our attitude.
That He can.
And that's a big deal in relationships.
Yes.
And so we have to remember to be satisfied in the circumstances we are in. We have to remember that we've all come from different backgrounds. We've all come from different environments. We've all come from different experiences. So
yes.
You will see some things in a relationship and you wonder, why in the world would you behave that way? And many times it's very natural. You're going to think it's because the person is trying to hurt you. But in reality, a huge percentage of the reason why people behave the way they do is something that's going on with them. Not necessarily something that's happening with you or the relationship. But when you live with someone, it makes you feel like it's about you or them. But really, it can be for so many reasons. So we ask for an attitude adjustment.
Yes, and He will give you an attitude adjustment. He will.
And He will give us that amount of strength to hold on long enough to make a better decision and to speak peace.
Speak peace. Because you always want to keep peace in the house.
Yes.
You want to keep peace in every relationship.
At all costs.
All relationships. I don't care if it's with your kids, it's on your job, with your spouse, with your parents. You always want to just keep peace. And so someone has to be the person that walks around and walk into a building and it's just peaceful. It just becomes peaceful. You walk in peace. And so every time you having a conversation with someone, that they can just feel at peace.
That's right.
You know, like, wow, just talking to you, I feel peace. You know,
I feel peace.
I feel peace just sitting here with you.
Yes.
I just feel peace.
That's a good thing. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. So bring peace wherever you are. Ask God for an attitude adjustment. Treat your spouses the way God says we should treat them, not the way our emotions say we should treat them. And that's easier said than done. Yes, I promise you we'll be doing a lot more scopes about that, because that is one of the main things people ask. How do you expect me to love them? How do you expect me to pray for them when they're behaving this way or when they're doing this or that? Let me tell you, it is not easy, but not it is possible.
It's possible.
It is possible. It may not be easy, but it's very possible. And let me tell you, not only is it possible, but it's worth it. It is worth it. Our testimony is I held on. And we are, I would say we are probably the epitome of a sanctified wife sanctifies a husband. Bam.
Yes, give me 5.
And it's worth it.
And that's no lie.
But
she has.
But God.
Look at God.
Look at God.
Look at
Made
God.
all the difference in the world. We are doing ministry together. My husband is taking his rightful place as head of the household. This time frame is what God promised me. And and I was listening to a woman preach, and she said sometimes God just shows off. Now he's just showing off.
He's showing off.
He is showing off.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you all joining us for our Thursday night devotion. If you joined us late, just so you know, we're sitting in our car, and this is part of our marriage nugget, because you got to break marriage barriers, and that's what we were talking about all week, is breaking marriage barriers. If you haven't seen some of our previous scopes this week, we welcome you to look at some of the replays. Look at some of the replays on our page, Gerald and Yvette, on Facebook, Gerald.Yvette on Instagram. You can follow us. On Periscope is Gerald and Yvette. You can follow us and see some of our previous broadcasts. Right. But we've been talking all week about marriage barriers, and one of the things that hinders a marriage is a lack of communication or a lack of being able to share your feelings. Right. So on Thursdays, we do devotion in our devotion book, and so on Thursdays for our scopes, we just invite you all in to do the devotion with us. So we get a chance to adjust our own attitudes.
Right.
And so when we're doing a devotion, we start to say, where are some of the things that I can do? Because please don't use devotion as a time to tell your spouse what they need to do, unless they ask you your opinion, or you can give a chance to share your need. But this is not about pointing the other person out. It's about making adjustments, both people making adjustments. And I know there'll be people on the line that'll say, my spouse won't do a devotion. But guess what? You do the devotion, read it yourself, because sometimes if you make a change yourself, you'll see a change in the other person.
I can testify to that.
Yes. So you might have to hold on. You might have to do a scope by yourself. You might have to go to counseling by yourself.
Come on.
It is worth it. Fight for your relationship. Yes. Fight for your marriage. Fight to hold on.
Right.
Because God will be pleased with that.
Break all marriage barriers.
So we are breaking marriage barriers this week. We really appreciate those that have been on. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, Jenny. I believe you guys are the ones that have been on every day this week. And some of you have been watching from the replay.
Jason Allison.
Thank you to Tracy and Allison Stallworth. Please follow them on Facebook. They have an amazing marriage ministry, and you can follow them at Marriage Matters on Facebook. So thank you all that have joined us. Let's see who else is on Facebook Live. And Prophetess Valora Cole, thank you. Her and Apostle LeJean Cole, thank you for joining us. Thank you all.
Midnight Scope. Make sure you see them tonight on the Midnight Scope.
Midnight Cry. They are looking for 1,000 bold intercessors. And they're looking for men. We were praying yesterday to have more men as intercessors on midnight. Hint.
I'll be there. I'm gonna be on. I'm an early
on.
sleeper. I go to bed very early, but I won't go to sleep tonight.
You're gonna sleep and wake back up.
Oh, no, I'm gonna stay up.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay up.
He's gonna stay
I'm
up.
grab me a cup of coffee. I'm gonna stay up.
All right. So he's gonna stay up for the scope. Thank you
hey,
all.
Mama Dot.
And next week, we're going to be on Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to try something new. Hi, Shakara. We're going to try something new on Friday morning at 6 a.m.
Yes.
Woohoo! We're going to do our devotion on Friday morning at 6 a.m. in case some of you are early birds and you want to wake up and do devotion with your spouse. My husband is an early bird.
Yeah.
And so about halfway through our relationship, we've been married 17 years, and about 10 years in, he said, I would like for you to get up early and do devotion with me in the morning.
Yeah.
That was Lord, give me an attitude adjustment. So I got an attitude adjustment.
Matthew.
Hello, Matthew. I got an attitude adjustment, and we started doing morning devotion. So someone asked us to do a scope in the morning. So we thought, you know what? Let's do it. We're going to do a morning scope. So next Friday, we'll be on at 6 a.m. to do a morning scope and a morning devotion. So maybe you want to wake up and do the devotion before you go to work. Or do it at night, and whatever works for you. Oh, we're sorry there's no sound. We hope that there's been sound the other time. So Friday 6 a.m. Thank you. Atlanta time, Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
So we love it here. Someone asked how it was that we've moved to Kennesaw, and we love it. But we miss our family. And thanks for joining, Pastor Kevin. We really appreciate you. Thank you all for joining us. We try to keep our scopes within about 30 minutes. Next week Gerald will be at Kingdom Family Worship Center with Apostle Christian and Pastor Melody Howell in Phoenix City, Alabama. They are hosting Apostle Ivory Hopkins for a conference, Free to Be Me.
Free to be me.
After deliverance, what do we do now? So that conference is going to be amazing. If you can't make the conference, please follow them on Facebook so you can see it on Facebook Live. Please send us any questions to Gerald and Yvette on Facebook. In Messenger, we've been answering questions and really going off the feedback. That's how we know what you need from us. God has called us to share our testimony on holding on and fighting for your relationship and how to make it through. So we want to help another couple. We want to help people have stronger relationships. We want to help unmarried people set a course for a healthier marriage.
Amen.
So we're doing all of that by doing our devotions and our marriage nuggets. So follow us on Twitter. You get some marriage nuggets, and we will see you all next week. Have an amazing weekend. We'll be back on Monday at 8 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all for joining us on our broadcast. We'll see you next week. And remember,
marriage work
if you work it.
Be
Good
blessed.
night.